I am a doctor, 35 years old, with brown short hair and a life that seemed perfect on the surface. My hands were meant for healing, for saving lives, but little did I know they would lead me down a path I never expected. It all began 18 years ago when I saved a young woman, a beautiful soul with light brown long hair, who had lost her memory. 3 years later, at 22, she became my wife, and I thought I had found my happily ever after. Our life together was simple, peaceful. We lived in a rural residence surrounded by rolling hills and the tranquility of nature. I spent my days at the local hospital, while she tended to our home and garden. It was a picture-perfect existence, or so I believed. But fate has a way of unraveling even the most tightly woven tapestries. I didn't realize that my wife had recovered from her amnesia, that the woman I thought I knew had returned to a world I couldn't comprehend. A world of shadows and secrets. A world I never knew existed beneath the surface of our quiet life. The truth came crashing down on me one fateful night in the emergency room. A patient arrived, clinging to life with 3 bullets lodged in her spine. As I rushed to save her, my heart stopped. It was my wife, barely recognizable, her face contorted in pain and her body battered from what I could only assume was a violent confrontation. In that moment, everything I thought I knew shattered. The woman I had married, the one I had built a life with, was not who I thought she was. She was part of an assassin team, a skilled operative with combat abilities I could never have imagined. Our peaceful rural home had been nothing but a facade, a cover for her true identity. As I worked frantically to save her life, my mind raced with questions. How long had she known? How many lives had she taken? And, most importantly, had any part of our life together been real? Hours passed, and finally she stabilized. When she opened her eyes, I saw a flicker of recognition, a hint of the woman I thought I knew. But then her gaze hardened, and I knew the truth. She had remembered everything long ago and had been living a double life right under my nose. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Those 2 simple words carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken truths. In that moment, I realized I couldn't force her to be someone she wasn't. The woman I had fallen in love with, the one I had built a life with, was just a fragment of her true self. Days turned into weeks as she recovered in the hospital. I learned bits and pieces of her other life, of the dangerous world she inhabited. She spoke of missions, of targets, of a life lived in the shadows. It was a reality so far removed from our quiet existence that I struggled to reconcile the two. I found myself torn between the love I still felt for her and the shock of discovering her true identity. How could I continue to love someone I didn't really know? How could I trust her again after years of deception? As she regained her strength, I noticed changes in her demeanor. The soft-spoken, gentle woman I had known was replaced by someone more alert, more guarded. Her eyes constantly scanned our surroundings and her movements became more deliberate, almost predatory. One night, as I sat by her hospital bed, she took my hand. "I never meant for you to find out this way," she said, her voice steady but tinged with regret. "I tried to leave that life behind, to be the person you thought I was. But the past has a way of catching up with you." I wanted to be angry, to feel betrayed, but looking into her eyes, I saw the conflict that had been tearing her apart. She had been living 2 lives, trying to balance the person she was with the person she wanted to be. In that moment, I realized that the love we shared, however complicated, had been real. As she recovered, we talked more about her past, about the events that had led her to this point. She spoke of a childhood marked by violence and loss, of being recruited into a world where killing was a means of survival. I began to understand the weight she had been carrying all these years, the constant fear of discovery, the struggle to maintain a normal life while hiding such a monumental secret. When she was finally discharged from the hospital, we both knew things could never go back to the way they were. Our quiet rural home no longer felt like a sanctuary, but a reminder of the lies that had built our life together. We decided to leave, to start anew somewhere else, somewhere we could both be honest about who we were. As we packed up our belongings, I caught her looking at a photo of us on our wedding day. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the woman I had married, the one who had been lost and found herself in my arms. But then her expression changed, and I saw the strength and determination of the woman she truly was. We left our old life behind, driving towards an uncertain future. I knew that loving her would never be simple again, that our relationship would be forever changed by the truth. But as I looked at her, her eyes focused on the road ahead, I realized that I was finally seeing her for who she really was: complex, dangerous, but also capable of great love. Our new life together would be a balancing act, a constant negotiation between her past and our future. I didn't know if I could ever fully understand or accept every aspect of her life, but I knew that I wanted to try. Because despite everything, the love we shared was real, and that was something worth fighting for. As we drove into the sunset, leaving behind the remnants of our old life, I realized that this was just the beginning of a new chapter. The secret life of my wife had been revealed, but the story of us was far from over. Whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, two people who had seen the darkest parts of each other and chosen to stay. The road stretched out before us, full of uncertainty and danger, but also possibility. And as we drove on, I knew that whatever came next, it would be an adventure unlike anything I had ever imagined. The doctor and the assassin, an unlikely pair bound by love and secrets, ready to face whatever the future held.